Hello friends, it's your favorite neighborhood nerd Simone, and I'm here today to show you the new BENU Daily Mate, which is a new line of pen from BENU that is supposed to be the perfect everyday writer for you. They have 7 different designs or variations in color for the 7 days of the week. And when they contacted me at the end of December and asked if I wanted to share or pick something from their store, I said, well, can I get the Daily Mate so I can do a comparison with the BENU Talisman as well as the BENU Euphoria to see where the differences and where the similarities are, so that if you are thinking about getting a Daily Mate and you already have some of these pens, you know where to put that pen and whether you want to get one or not. Now, because they sent this to me, I'm trying to make a more professional video than usual. They came out with 7 different designs or colors representing the 7 days of the week. Fresh Monday, Lively Tuesday, Easy Wednesday, Creative Thursday, Exciting Friday, Joyful Saturday, and Relaxing Sunday. The pen comes in the same packaging as the other pens do, which I think this cardboard packaging is fabulous. The pen itself is usually in this pen sleeve, and then you have a standard international cartridge, an affirmation for the pen, a use and care guide, as well as some paper flakes to stuff the package. There is some really good information on this paper here about product care and what you're supposed to do or not do, and how to clean it, and all that jazz. I picked Fresh Monday because I thought it was brown, a combination of green and brown, which is not something I normally go for. If you look at the 7 different designs, there are colors that are more me usually, but I really wanted to not go for the same old and pick something else. You can see that this pen is definitely not brown. It is black and this very shiny, sparkly green. And then there are some, I believe these are gold flakes in here. Well, this is definitely a little bit multicolored. It shimmers orangey, but I do really like it. It's very moody. And in my eye, it does not necessarily represent a fresh Monday. The pen is made from acrylic resin. And I really like how it looks. There are flutes here in the pen body. It tapers down to both ends. The thickest part of the pen is right here. It comes with the pen clip that we know from all the other clippy pens from BENU. It's the exact same clip. And the logo is debossed in the cap, different to the other pens. The Euphoria as well as the Talisman, this pen does not have a cap band. And also different to both the Talisman and the Ambrosia, the how do I say this? The design of the pen barrel with these flutes or grooves right here does not continue into the cap. The cap in both of these is the exact same design. This one has just sides. This one has some, it's a little bit more elaborate in the, now I'm missing my words, in the designs. Both caps continue the design of the pen barrel. This one does not. This cap is smooth and clean. Smooth and clean. Now, actually, the polishing is amazing. It feels really good in the hand. The cap is rounded as well as the finial. As I said, the clip is debossed, and then not debossed, it's the same clip as usual, and the logo is debossed and filled with silver. Now let's look at the cap rotations. I'm going to do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just under 5 cap rotations. That is a whole lot. I have not tested this yet and seen if this would be something that annoys me or not, but definitely as a daily writer, it feels kind of much. And let me write that down, because that is something that I do want to add to my new pen day writings in my ink and pen journal. Now, let's look at this pen in a little bit more detail. I wanted to share the affirmation for the Fresh Monday. So what I feel like is new week, new opportunities. The adjectives that were chosen for the pens are not necessarily represented in the colors of the pens. At least that's how it feels to me. However, Monday is the start of the week, and so Fresh Monday definitely will work. I think that's also a reason why I picked this one, because the adjective made most sense to me. New week, new opportunities. So let's go and look at this a little bit more in more detail. I'm bringing out my beautiful pen rest that my son made for me. It is not straight. As you can see, it is higher here than here, so please make sure that you're not fooled. I'm going to line up the pens down here, so you need to make sure that you're looking at the right thing. Alrighty, this is the BENU Daily Made Fresh Monday. Next to its older sibling Talisman and Euphoria. And the first thing that you will notice is that it compares most in size to the Talisman. But I have thoughts that I will share with you later. Let's look at the BENU Daily Made next to some pens that many people will have in their collection, either one of them. This is a TWSBI Eco. This is a Lamy Safari. And this is a Sharpie. You can see that capped, all of those are very similar in length. Now, if we uncap those, definitely you can see how easy it is to access the Lamy compared to the Daily Made. Sharpie. These three pens are still very similar in length. Now, if we align the sections, you can see that the Lamy is still closest in length. However, the TWSBI is a tad bit shorter. Now, I don't think that that will matter in the end when you write with it, these tiny discrepancies or differences, but I personally am very susceptible to differences, millimeter differences in sections, or even fractions of a millimeter in sections. So maybe if you're like this in length of pen, this is something that you need to be careful of. Now I'm going to show you how these pens sit in my hand when I'm holding them. This is the Sharpie. This is the TWSBI. This is the Daily Mate. And this is the Safari. I like to test how the pen lays without me holding it. It's very well balanced. This pen is very well balanced in my hand, as well as this pen is very well balanced in my hand. All of these are unposted. Now, I do not usually post either the Lamy or the TWSBI Eco, but if you do, I want to show this to you as well. BENU claims that the cap is postable. To me, with this cap, it's quite thick. You can see the thickness of the sides here quite well of the cap. But if I post this pen, it feels like it's not meant to be posted. And I can press down and post it securely. It does look really odd, and I'll show you how it lays in my hand in just a second. But this is what, it does not post very deeply. It doesn't feel secure, however, it seems to be quite secure. But this makes the BENU Daily Mate the longest one of these three. Now, if I post the TWSBI Eco and let it go, it still sits quite okay on my hand. It does want to turn because of the clip here. I probably would have to post it so the clip points down so it doesn't want to roll over. Yep, exactly this. Then here we have the BENU Daily Mate. This starts to lift off my finger. It almost, yeah, here you can see. So this, in my opinion, is not a well-balanced pen because I'm always afraid that if I don't hold it well and tight enough, it might tumble over backwards. But as you can see, the cap posts securely once you press it on. Now, I don't know, because I think you are protruding technically the threads. If this is healthy for your cap in the long run and the threads at the bottom, but then also there are so many threads, maybe if you ruin the first one, it doesn't matter. If you're someone who has experience with posting onto threads, if that's even a thing, I'd love to hear your long-term experience, because I am not usually a poster. That is not something that has occurred to me or has happened to me. Again, same thing, this turns, so probably post it better if the clip is down. It is still okay, balanced. It does not lift off my finger. However, it's also not something that I tend to do. It just feels too long and unwieldy. So that is the pen compared to usual pens that we have. Now let's look at the differences of the BENU Talisman with the BENU Daily Mate and Euphoria, as well as, I still have one more, this little teeny tiny BENU Ambrosia Brown Orchid. So let me just quickly tell you the models. This one, as I just said, is the BENU Ambrosia Brown Orchid. This one is the BENU in collaboration with Gourmet Pens Dark Unicorn Talisman. I forgot to say that. This one is the BENU Daily Mate Fresh Monday. And this one is the BENU Euphoria Jazz. I'm going to put this to here because these three have number 6 nibs. This one has a number 5 nibs. All those nibs are stainless steel Schmidt nibs. These nibs are interchangeable. you can actually purchase the nibs as separate units, and then you can exchange them quite easily. I have a cartridge back here. I forgot to mention earlier, all of the BENU Daily Mates come with a standard converter in the barrel. So when I open this up, there will be a converter that is included in the pen. But you would just take this nib like so, turn the section and unscrew the nib unit, and then you could purchase other nibs. The BENU Daily Mate, just as the Talisman and the Euphoria, come in nib sizes fine, medium, and broad. So I just showed you earlier, there is cap bands on both. Oh, these things are facets. There you go. The BENU Euphoria as well as the Talisman have a cap band. Even the Ambrosia has a cap band that is more elaborate than those, but there is a cap band in those pens. The Daily Mate does not have one. If we unscrew these caps, there is another thing that you will notice quite easily. Maybe not, maybe you will. If you look at the Talisman as well as the Euphoria, you will see that the threads, when you cap the pen, are different to the Daily Mate. So there is much bigger threads on the Talisman as well as the Ambrosia. The Euphoria. I'm so sorry that I'm mixing up those names. And these are finer threads. Now, I, of course, do not know the choice why this was made. I assume that either it is easier to make, or it will seal the pen better. Now, I do not usually have any problems with BENU Euphorias drying out on me or evaporating ink. So maybe that was just, maybe the production is simpler. I have no idea. Just know that the threads are different, and let's just see how many turns it takes to uncap the Talisman. 1, 2.5. So it takes 2.5 turns to uncap the BENU Talisman. I assume because the threads are the same, this is exactly the same for the BENU Euphoria, but we will try this out. 1, 2.5. Yes. And then we just said that there is 5 rotations for the BENU Daily Mate. Now this just makes me chuckle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh well. Now, can you hear this? I don't know. I saw some residue on the cap here, on the threads here. I don't know if this is because when I'm posting, I'm taking off material. The threading goes down all the way. You can see this. This is almost a 1.5 centimeter deep threading down here. One more thing I have noticed. Let me show you quickly this pen compared to the others. The make or the style is exactly the same as the Talisman, the Euphoria. The sections are similar. This one is just a tiny bit smaller at the bottom to accommodate the number 5 nib, which is narrower than the number 6 nib. So of course this section is narrower at the bottom. When I hold, and that is something that I noticed when I compared those earlier. So the BENU Talisman is postable, but also, are you doing the same thing here with the threads? Possibly. It is postable. I'm not sure if the Euphoria is postable. Oops. Yes, makes this pen so long. And then we'll just look at how this looks next to each other. Okay. So if we post the BENU, the 3 BENUs, this one needs to be posted for me. So this is what it looks like when this is posted. It is well balanced. Cap is secure here. And I'm going to put this away because I'm not comparing this any longer. The Talisman is the shortest. When it is posted, besides turning because of the clip, well, let's put my finger underneath. It kind of is balanced, but this is how it lays in my hand. It is quite short, and I personally do not think that I will add any more talismans to my collection because, and here it comes, this pen is too thin back here where it sits on the crook of my hand. Now, let's compare this to the Daily Mate. Let's see. Well, see, not very securely posted here. We just looked at this. Let's look at this. This, even though it feels very similar and I hold it, where I hold it is the same and it is the same length. This feels not as thin as the Talisman. And I think the reason why that is, why it feels more comfortable is in my hand, is not because of the section width, because those are exactly the same, but because the pen has more diameter right here where it sits. And I'll show this to you with my caliper, which is a discovery I made when I tried out this pen. I was super surprised about the fact that it felt better, even though it's basically the same pen, isn't it? It like the section is the same. So let's see. It is back here, so right here. So the diameter where it sits in the crook of my hand is 13.24 millimeters. I'm going to write that down. Crook is 13.4. Did I say 44 millimeters? I don't think it's that important. But then let's compare that to both of those other pens. This is where I hold it. This is where it sits on here. So about here. 12.28 millimeters. See where I'm going with that? 12.28 millimeters. And then the Euphoria, to me, is the most comfortable pen of them all. This is not comfortably posted. This is how it looks in my hand. It is a tad bit longer than both of the other pens when they're not posted. And I will measure it right here. Oh, wrong. And this is 13.10. Oh, wow. Now this is going to work really well. You can skip ahead to writing samples and stuff. I will put minutes here because obviously I'm not a pro. 13, wow, 1330. So this is actually wider than this one. That is interesting. So not just, for me, I always thought it's the section, and I think the section is definitely one of the most important factors for how comfortable a pen sits in my hand, but it is also how wide it is here where it touches or gets to the crook of my hand, and not just that, also how long it is. So I think this is just a tad bit longer than this. Yes. And when it's this short, this is basically how long it can be without being posted. It starts feeling like, even though there is so much length, so much pen in between, it starts feeling like it's falling through here. I don't know if you have that too, but that's how the pens feel when they're a little shorter than normal, is like I don't have enough control over them. Well, so there. These sections for those pens are exactly the same. Here you can now see that there is a converter included. So you could, in theory, not just here. You could just swap the sections around as you please. And because the nibs are the same, they will be okay in all three of the pens. Now, something that I also noticed when I looked and compared those pens, and I am not someone who is very perceptible to this specific thing, but for instance, Karina is very, is how the step up is and where exactly on the pen it is. So if we open those up again and look at them compared to each other, we know that this section is the same. So where the threads are for the cap is always the same. But then the distance between the, what do you say? Between the threads and where the barrel bulbs out is different for all of those pens. And I think that depends on how broad, how wide the cap band is and where the threads start inside the cap. So here for the Talisman, you can see the threads start right around here, but the threads for the Euphoria start maybe here where the B is. So of course you need more narrow length here before it starts bulbing out, so that the cap and the cap band can sit correctly on here. So this is very similar. There is the section, then there's the threads that are, to me, they don't feel different. None of these threads are sharp at all, but there's only this much left before it starts getting bigger for the barrel. However, there is just a tiny step up, and it's compared to the Daily Made, the step up is much smaller, as you can see right here. So now that we've done all of this, let's start testing the pen and seeing how it writes. That's why I've been wearing this glove, because my hands have been very, very dry, and I decided the other day that I would not continue hurting my hands like this. I am just going to smother on lotion, and then instead of touching the paper, I will use a pencil board and this super cool art glove so that I don't put my hand oils onto the paper. Now, I think I want to test this first with Waterman Serenity Blue, which I need to grab and find. But then I think I want to ink it with Lamy Tourmaline. So, hold please. This nib is a medium nib. I have 2 other mediums already, but I thought this would give me the opportunity to maybe get one of them ground to a stub nib or something that I would enjoy. I'm not sure what that is yet. I still have a lot of time to decide. Maybe I'll send it away, or maybe I'll have... Okay. I'm just dipping this pen because I'm just doing a writing test, a nib test basically. Downstrokes, side strokes, upstrokes, side strokes. It feels very glassy smooth on the paper, which is unexpected. I thought, or had the assumption, that it would be a little bit more toothy. Let's put the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Well, that's awesome. I'm gonna clean this out and ink it up with the ink that I would like to see in this pen for my first writing experience with it. I would usually probably leave the ink try Waterman Serenity Blue a little bit longer if it's a nib that I don't know. But because I have used Schmidt nibs in the past and I know how they perform, I'm not too concerned about anything else. Flow issues and stuff like that I will notice with the other ink. If this was a totally new to me pen and nib, I would probably use this tester ink for a little bit longer. Okay, so now let's ink up this pen for real. Should have done this before I started turning on the camera. Let's check the ink bottle first. Looks okay. And then ink up the pen. Oh, the paper towel is underneath the ink bottle. All right. Let's write stuff down. This is, it feels odd. New pen day. This is the BENU Daily Mate Fresh Monday. With a medium steel nib. Schmidt nib. So, what is important for me to write down? This pen, I did not say it, I don't usually write it down, but this pen costs $120 at your retailers. I've seen it on Atlas, I've seen it on, I'm not sure if Van Ness even sells BENU pens, but you could check those out. I have codes for both of those, but I know other YouTubers, influencers who also have codes for Gold Spot, and who else is out there? Pen Chalet. So I would check all of those stores and see if you can find a good deal. The ink that I have in here is Lamy Tourmaline. Yes, I really like this. So on the back of my box, I do have some measurements that I want to write down. So the length, capped, is 14 centimeters. The length uncapped is 13 centimeters, and those lengths match up with the length that BENU gives in their description. And then the length posted is 18 centimeters. This is one of those that I would disregard. I think even though it says it's postable, would not recommend. The weight of the pen with the cap. This is something that I would figure out. So this, meant the cap rotations that it has is something that I would personally figure out when I'm using it. Is it something that bothers me, or is it something that works okay? Even though right now I think it doesn't. 27, or that I'm like concerned about. I would pay attention to these kinds of concerns throughout my writing experience with it. Weight, uncapped, is 15. I really like those grooves or flutes, as I learned. Did I say 15? 15 grams. And then we have the diameter. Of the section. So I am not going to measure my pens in the future here. I just wanted to measure them here and compare them here because it was something that I immediately noticed how different the Talisman and the Daily Mate felt in my hand, even though they had the same length and the same grip section width. So what makes it different to me? What's the feeling? And I think I figured out that it is the width where it touches the crook of my hand. So now, at the narrowest point, it is 10.14 millimeters in diameter, and at the widest point back here, just below the threads, it is 11.11 millimeters. Wow, that's cool. As you can see, the cap, the section tapers down to a tiny pinch right here, and then it flares back out so that the natural grip that I have here is right below where it flares back out, so your hands and fingers do not, hit the mark and shoot over the goal. So that's the BENU. Now, the cap rotation is something that I want to notice. Cap rotations is just shy of 5. Wow. All right, so here are my first impressions. the design of the Daily Mate is, well, what is it? It feels very chunky. The cap is super clunky, in my opinion. I like it better uncapped than capped, I think. The design of the Daily Mate is lovely when it is uncapped. I like the flutes of the barrel. I find the cap to appear very clunky. Clumsy, maybe that's the right word. It is, the sides are very thick. Sides are very thick, noticeably so. The cap feels heavy. And if you look at it, the cap, the pen weighs 15 grams, and then it's more than 10 grams heavier with the cap. So it's like 12 grams. 12 grams for the cap. Let's weigh the other two. Where did I put them though? This is a very well and organized video, just as you're used to from your best friend. Here we go. I'm just gonna compare it. So the Euphoria weighs 25 grams in total, so it's heavier than the Euphoria, even though the Euphoria is the longest one. And it weighs 14 grams, so that means that the cap only weighs 11. What was this cap? I already forgotten. 12 grams for the Euphoria cap and 12 grams for the Daily Mate. What? Really? 12. Okay. 12. 14. So this is lighter than this one. I wonder why. Interesting. The Talisman. 21 grams. 8 grams. Huh. That's weird. I have never noticed the cap of the Euphoria to be clunky or clumsy, or I've never perceived it as such. But my perception seems to not be correct, because obviously both of those caps are the same weight. Interesting. That is very interesting. You do with this information what you need to do with it. Sometimes I'm noticing things. The cap feels heavy, but upon comparison, it is the same weight as the cap of the Euphoria. Someone else asked why I think that this pen is, compared to the other two models of BENU, the Euphoria and the Talisman, but other two with number 6 nibs, models of the BENU Euphoria and Talisman. The Euphoria usually goes for around 159 US dollars. The Talisman is a little bit more expensive with, I think, around the 170 mark or even 180 mark. So why is this only 120? And I can only guess. I did not ask BENU. Maybe I should have. Maybe that's something that they would tell me. So if anybody from BENU is watching, let me know if my assumption is correct. I assume that there is more work involved in producing these pens. I do not have the best examples because both of those have just one color. First of all, the cap bands, I think there is more labor involved in making those cap bands. And then let's look at the one BENU Euphoria that I have that is a little bit more colorful, where maybe I can illustrate a little better why I think it's more expensive. There is 1, 2, 3 colors in this pen. There is different types of shimmer involved here. And this seems just like one. I think these are 2 different colors that go in here, and then it's swirled around. Here, I think they need to make sure that the blue is on the bottom and the gold here is on this bottom of the resin, that it mixes a little but not a lot. So I think maybe the production is more involved. Here, it's just the way it comes out. I believe that all of those pens will have some sort of swirl, but it's not the most important thing. And there's only one type of glitter inside here, and there is more than just one in this pen. So maybe that's why. Maybe I'm completely wrong and you know better. Let me know. Maybe the threads here are more involved to make, and maybe that takes more labor as well. So that's just my guesses for this. But if you have any opinions on why this is 120 compared to 160 to 180, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, something else that I wanted to write about the first impression is I am very intrigued by the cap threads I am very intrigued by the cap threads and rotations. It needs to uncap the pen. 5 rotations. Wow, this is German. Rotations. The capital R seems a bit much for a pen that claims to be a daily writer. This is something I want to observe while using and see how much it actually affects my usage of the pen. All right, everything else I really love about this pen. I mean, I never say no to a Schmidt steel nib. I personally prefer them, like them just a tad bit better than the Jowo number 6 steel nibs. And so I'm always happy to find another pen, especially in this price range, that will hold Schmidt nibs. And I really am impressed by the shimmery stuff that BENU comes out with. I never thought I was a glitter girl until I met BENU, and I'm in love. So I would love to hear if you have tried the Daily Mate. I would love to hear your thoughts on the pen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Until then, bye.